do you reduce this risk of HIV?
HIV does not discriminate. The highest risk for HIV contraction is unprotected anal sex.
Have you had a threesome before? No pressure.
Yes.
But
No
also
pressure
tell
at
us
all.
everything. What if I've already had sex with a few people? And
My name is Karishma. I'm a sexuality educator, and this is a series where we unlearn and relearn all those common myths, misconceptions, and questions which really should have been part of the talk.
hopefully we got it. Welcome to part 2, Edgar. I know we saw some really exciting stuff we
Yep.
talked about in the first video. Check it out on my channel. And today we're gonna pick up right where we left off
Yep.
in the last video.
And
Let's
it's gonna
go.
get juicier.
It's gonna get juicier. Okay, cool. You've done so much work, especially in HIV prevention. What are your top tips for safety?
So this has just been historically tied to the gay community because of the 90s AIDS epidemic. A lot of the gay cis male community got affected by it, but it's not the case. It can happen to anyone. HIV does not discriminate. If it has access to someone's bloodstream, it'll get in there and start multiplying and affecting your immune system. But the thing is, the reason why it was so prominent within the gay community was because of the risk factors. The highest risk for HIV contraction is unprotected anal sex because it's simply biologic. So we just mentioned how the prostate gets stimulated, right? So anyone, regardless if you're gay or hetero or pan or whatnot, if you have prostate, you can stimulate it. So that aside, in this community, to feel that pleasure, it was through anal sex. Sadly, unlike the vagina, which self-lubricates, the anus does not.
Means that it's not producing its own fluids, and so
And
there's
the-
more friction.
There's more friction and more micro tears and more access into the bloodstream. So put those two things together, and HIV from a penetrative partner can just give you HIV much faster through that channel. So simply biologic. It's simply biologic. That's not to say that people with vaginas don't have risk. They do, but just looking at the studies, the risks tend to be lower with non-protected
I
vaginal
see. Okay.
penetrative sex.
Yeah. So regardless of how you identify, anal sex tends to have a slightly higher risk.
Correct.
And I've also heard it's because of more blood vessels, as we were talking about earlier. So how do you reduce this risk of HIV? And I think also I've gotten this question from people who might have sex with sex workers. What kinds of activities would be a little bit less risky? Even though sex workers often test the most and use the
That's
most.
the biggest.
Yeah, but I mean, statistically speaking, it makes sense that you would be worried because the more partners you have, the more you
Right.
should be thinking about STI risk. And
Sexual professionals
yeah,
have a career, and if you
Yeah.
think about it, that's their career, and if for them to continue to receiving income, they need to be up to date with their body. So it makes sense that those communities happen to be the most proactive about sexual health testing and keeping up with all those routine.
yeah,
Just like you,
Yeah.
if you're a truck driver, you're gonna have insurance for your car.
Yeah.
That's your income, so you need to be protecting that
Right.
asset. And sex workers are protecting theirs, which is
Yeah.
their bodies. That aside, tips for HIV. Okay, first off, condoms. Condoms protect not just from HIV, but also other STIs. Being able to use that. Internal condoms. I don't know. Have you had this conversation yet?
no, not yet.
Because internal condoms,
Not in a while.
people think about internal condoms as just people with vaginas can use it, but you can also use it anally.
Yeah.
For anyone with an anus.
Sometimes sold under the name female condom, but they can be put inside the
If you
anus.
do use them in the anus, just take out the inside the inner ring and
Yeah.
just put it inside.
So actually, when we were talking about this in class, I saw that for anal sex on one of the resources, it said that you can put the internal condom on the penis for anal sex, and it can
It'll
actually
just pull it in by itself.
yeah, and that might actually be easier than trying to put it in because
Yeah,
it's not
because
as
it is hard to it's a
Yeah.
really long condom, and for you to be slowly but surely putting it in
Yeah.
might take a while.
yeah.
That makes sense. Another con of that is that it would feel very much like a condom,
Yeah.
whereas if you do it beforehand, it'll contort to your anal cavity, so So it'll
Interesting.
feel less like a condom inside there. So
Yeah.
it depends what you want. But
Yeah, I also think it depends. Like, so the internal condom has an inner ring. I did read that if it's stuck to the condom, you should probably try to remove it. I don't know how you feel about that.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah, you wouldn't, right? Okay, cool. But usually, like penis condoms, external condoms, they're fine.
Not together.
Not together. Okay, cool. So no double condoms.
No.
One
Even if
condom.
it's one internal, one external, make sure it's just one condom.
One condom.
And then pre-exposure prophylaxis is another one.
PrEP.
PrEP.
Yeah. So it's a medication.
It's a medication that when taken like prescribed by your doctor, which is like once a day, it reduces the risk of HIV contraction by 99%.
99%. That's revolutionary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't say 100% because
You can't.
it's science.
Yeah.
There will always be an exception in the world.
So
Like,
who is the right person for PrEP? Does everyone need to take it? Is it only if you're having a lot of anal sex? Like who decides?
first of all, learn about the HIV risks. Are you having unprotected sex? Are you sharing needles? It's all those instances. Like just learn about the exposure to HIV. If you feel like you are being in any of those ways possibly going to be exposed, then PrEP is for you.
Question. What about oral sex?
It is the least risky.
Okay. So
It is
no
the
condom needed?
absolute least risky.
No condom needed for a blowjob?
I say no.
Ooh, hot take.
No. But if they finish in your mouth, either swallow or spit, do not let it.
But this is from an HIV risk point of view, right? Like, but
For
if you're-
HIV, but not for the other ones.
Yes.
For the other ones, we're talking gonorrhea and chlamydia, like condom.
I think that's the thing. Like, there's no way to know whether the person has one of the other ones because they're usually asymptomatic.
Yeah.
So when there's no symptoms,
I mean,
they
that's-
look okay. You can't tell.
Right.
Yeah. But I guess if you're like with a long-term partner and you
Yeah.
both are testing proactively, and then like I'm sure there's a situation where you could explore that.
But yeah, for HIV specifically, risk factors, oral sex is the least, almost negligible. Like there hasn't been any cases or studies where they've seen an HIV positive case from oral sex.
Okay, we had another question. Is there any additional benefit to taking PrEP when you're using condoms?
If you look at the other risk factors of HIV or the other venues or access to HIV, if you are at risk through those, whether it's like sharing needles and stuff, like if that's the case, then PrEP, yes. Otherwise, I don't think so. Like if you're using condoms consistently, you're protecting not only from HIV, but also the other STIs. I don't think you really need PrEP. Also, PrEP 211, have you heard of it?
No, what's that?
I also hadn't heard of it. I had to learn from the community itself, like being with people. So 211 method, it's called PrEP on demand. And essentially, you want to take PrEP 24 hours to 2 hours before a sexual activity.
Okay.
If you don't want to take it daily.
Wait, sorry. So
Oh, this is not for daily PrEP.
wait. So there's one version that's daily.
Yes.
And you have to take that every
This is what your doctor's going to tell you.
So you have to take that one pill every day.
Yes.
And what if you forget to take it or take it for 1 week and then don't take it for another week? What's going to happen?
It depends on which medication. I know for Truvada, which is composed of two main ingredients, for Truvada itself, there's a 7-day effective period in the body. So it is protecting for 7 days after that last pill.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to take your pills every day, for Truvada specifically, not for Descovy, they haven't done the studies yet, and your highest risk is anal sex, so not vaginal. They haven't done the studies yet. Anal sex, Truvada, 211 method. Say you're going to go out on a Friday night and you know for sure you're going to get laid that night. You're going to go clubbing and you're motivated.
Motivated.
Thursday before, at least 24 hours before the sexual interaction or 2 hours before the sexual interaction, so you have that window, take 2 pills. What that's going to do is essentially put all that reservoir of protection down into your anal cavity. That makes it feel like 7 days protection.
Oh, so it's just like a one-time dose.
No. That was the first one. That was 2 part of the one. After you have sex, 24 hours later, so the next Saturday night, you're going to take 1 pill, and then the next Sunday night, you take another pill.
Oh.
And that's it. That protects you.
So you don't have to take a pill every single day.
No. And that's it.
Very cool. So this is a new thing.
Yeah.
That's come out. Very interesting.
And it's a way to like save on pills too. If you're in a place in a country where like PrEP is not affordable, and you're also not super sexually active, you're just on the weekends, for instance, this is probably the thing for you.
Tell me something. What if I've already had sex with a few people and I don't know their status? What should I do then?
Okay. So we have post-exposure prophylaxis for this. This is PEP. Essentially, it's similar to PrEP. They just add a little bit more ingredients. And these ingredients tend to stop the HIV from multiplying. The important thing about PEP to remember is 72 hours. You have within 72 hours after that exposure to access PEP from doctor, from emergency rooms, wherever they have it.
The other question I have is, let's say whether I took or didn't take PEP, how long would it take from the point of exposure to a test coming positive?
Oh, it depends. It's body to body. But normally by day 7, the virus will have already been in your immune system multiplying.
So day 7?
By 72 hours, it will have gone from your anal cavity into your bloodstream. By day 3 to day 7, it will be in your lymph nodes. And then by day 7, it's in your immune system multiplying. And after 7 days, people usually go and get tested. But depending on the tests too, there's different rapid tests that look at different antibodies or different parts of the HIV.
Is the blood test the most reliable?
It is.
Okay.
But talk to your doctor, whoever's doing the tests, explain the dates as well, because that helps them assess which test fits better.
And that makes sense. And also in India, testing is free. HIV test specifically, if you do it through a private clinic, you would have to pay for it.
Yep.
But it is available in government clinics and through nonprofits for free, if that is something you need. So that's also cool. And I think here too in the US, you can get it for free or...
Yeah, most places you'll find a clinic, a free clinic, a sexual health clinic that does free HIV testing. Or just Google free HIV near me. There's going to be so many clinics that you didn't even think about. You probably walk by them and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
They're
That's
right
awesome.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. That's a good response we have for
now.
HIV. For now. The other question I think that I got was, what are the STD risks in frotting?
What is frotting?
What is frotting?
Frottage. Frotting, dry humping.
Is it that
What
thing
else?
that the Romans did?
Did they?
Was it Greeks? Was it Romans? I don't remember. Some Western civilization.
Probably the Greeks. What did they do?
They used to have relationships with younger boys.
Oh yeah, probably. It was
Where
the
they
Greeks.
would be like, the younger
Their tutors,
boy.
they're like...
And then a younger boy would be bent over and then they would just have sex like between his thighs. And so it didn't count as sex because it was not inside the anus.
That's frotting.
That's frotting?
That's
Okay,
frotting.
cool.
Not inside the body orifice penetrative sex.
So just
but
between
it
the
is
legs.
Between the legs, it can be between bodies. Someone's genitals against your body or their genitals or another part of their body. As long as there's stimulation with friction and motion, that's frotting. But the risk for frotting for HIV, pretty negligible.
Nice.
Unless you have an open wound or something, access to blood, there's not going to be a risk at all. But when it comes to other STIs, specifically like herpes and syphilis, because those are skin to skin, those are where you have to start looking. So if your partner has strange open sores, or even if they're not painful, especially if they're not painful, because that means it's syphilis. Just make sure of that. Look for those kind of things. Let's normalize looking at our partner's genitals before having sex.
And no judgment, right? This is something that could happen to anyone.
It could happen. That person could have something very visible and you can just decide to do something else. Masturbate or do other things.
Yeah.
You can negotiate.
Okay, cool. There's one more question here, which is, have you had a threesome before?
Yes.
No pressure.
Yes.
But
No
also
pressure
tell
at
us
all.
everything.
Well, we broke my bed.
Who was in it? This is a question I got from the audience, not because you told me about this separately.
Me and 2 Brazilians.
How did they identify? What was the...
They they're both cis males, gay.
So in MMM.
MMM, yeah.
And then?
It's about going with the flow too. For someone who's very open, I like playing with roles and doing everything, it's very easy for me. And then for someone who might not be super open to changing positions or playing around with that and it's easier for me to be fluid in those aspects. But yeah, we just had a lot of fun. We broke the bed, but even then, because it was so much
I can't
fun,
believe you broke the bed.
because it was so much fun, we just like, fuck it, let's just keep going at an angle. The first time I did it, I thought I was gonna be really awkward because I'm really great with one-on-one. I love playing with another person, and like starting with a kiss, you can tell so much like passion and how much they like to engage. So I was scared. I was like, oh no, am I gonna have time to like learn that from each one in those like intermittent like kissing moments? And
But you did?
Yeah.
Nice.
And then playing with the attention too. Like it's okay to like be in it and then taking a step back and let them enjoy. And that was my first time like exploring voyeurism. I've never
So like watching people while
like,
they have
ooh.
sex.
And that's also exciting. And then also having the opportunity for them to like bring you in as well. Very, very interactive.
Interesting.
But yeah, playing around with it. It's okay to like explore different sides of you and different roles.
That actually brings me to one last question. I think with threesomes and with gay sex or any type of sex, there's a version we see in porn and there's a version that happens in real life. How can they be similar or different?
They can all happen like at the same time. Like I've seen porn where like everyone's engaged, someone's
In a
penetrating
threesome?
someone, someone's penetrating someone's penetrating the other. Like that can happen. It doesn't always have to happen. Like voyeurism
So there can be moments of
there can be a moment of like, I'm gonna take a step back, let you all take it in. I need a breather. I need a drink of water, something.
Yeah.
Come back in. Like they don't show that in porn. That reality of like taking a step back and like recenter and then go back in and explore, continue exploring. So that's a big one. Another part is the communication. Porn does never show like instances of conversation of like, hey, can I do this? Or like,
and that's true of sex in general. Yeah.
And in general, like in all porn, but like that idea of like, hey, can I do this? And like hearing the other person, can you do that to me later? Like, and that's like this conversation as well of like, oh yeah, I will do that next. And like organizing and like also like playing around.
Yeah. Cool. That brings me to the rapid fire round. So, condoms, yay or nay?
Nay.
Nay? HIV educator.
I use PrEP. Like, I use PrEP and I'm very careful with the others.
That's why we need different voices out here, because you like, I guess, are getting tested, you're not afraid.
Right. If you were like responsible, you're up to date with everything, like I'm less afraid, and so therefore I'm...
Personal choice, but for you personally, nay. Okay. Overrated sex tip.
The 2 condom one?
That's just not a tip. That's bad news.
It's crazy. I feel like only like adolescents going into like sex for the first time are like the ones exploring that. But who knows? It's a very overrated one. Maybe like insert of an external condoms, like that can happen. I feel like someone may not think of them.
So 2 condoms at once, bad tip, don't do it. Okay, cool. And what is one sexual health resource or information source you rely on?
I think the CDC has been, I mean, they had 211. One would think like, oh, that's very antithetical to Big Pharma, but it's there. There are resources.
All right. Thank you so much for being here today. This was awesome. You've really been a tell-all.
Thank you.
It's rare to have a guest who's like both a sex educator, kind of. You've done so much work in sex ed. Yeah. And be so open about your personal experience and your sex life. I think it's been a real treat. For those of you watching, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So, is there a risk of pregnancy associated with that?
The reason we recommend these long-acting reversible contraceptions is because they're so easy to use. You have it inserted. You can gently remove from the uterine cavity and have a baby the next week even.